Hey everybody, Jim Malone here, coming to you live on Dallas Trading Floor. Well, it is Wednesday. Man, the market is pulling back. Mostly not the greatest thing. I mean, I think we would like to see it, I think we'd like to see it always go up. Boy, that would be great, wouldn't it? Well, what goes up must come down. But what net is not a threat because there are some things that are going up, and I just kind of wanted to point that out. Um, after in all the carnage this morning, and I was, reducing positions and setting my stop losses up and all that kind of stuff. What happened was I found kind of something that did reverse higher, and that, interestingly enough, was Visa. Of all things. I mean, I wasn't really looking for this to happen, but hey, it did, and I got the alert on my on my charting software, and I'm looking at, well, you know what? That's a good reversal. So I did buy several positions of Visa. Now, hopefully, it'll prove me right, but I do think that there is a market rotation going on, and it seems as if this credit processing area is doing well, and I also have a position, interestingly enough, in PayPal. Now, of course, it pulled back a little bit today, but it seems as if the money in the market is moving in this direction. So that's kind of one of the things I kind of wanted to sort of put out there for everybody. We may be seeing. Oh, look at that! I have this. I sort of have this bizarre. Let's see if I can come back in and out. So let me come back, and there we go. Okay, well, this is a now. I should be back now, and hopefully that will be that will be working better now. So I'm going to go out and come back in here a little bit. I had a little situation where I had a little bit of technical difficulties. You could see it's kind of a weird thing going on here. So let me just leave the room here for just a second, and I will come right back and and we're back now. Sorry about that. We had a little bit of technical difficulty there. So, but thank you for holding on, and let's get into something. Let's get into some of the questions. The questions really relate to Docusign. So let's look at Docusign. Docusign has pulled back tremendously. I do have the spread on it. I was actually stopped out of this stock, but hey, it is what it is. So let's get into that right now. I'm just pulling up my charts. There we go. Let's get in the charts. And super. Okay, so let's go to the charts. And this is Docusign. So first of all, let's kind of take a look here. Let's see if that okay. Um, let's see if I can. I'm gonna have to probably just leave that for a second. There we go. And get back here. Oh, there we go. Okay, so we're back. We're back now with Docusign, and what I'm going to do here is I've got a lot of notations on this chart, so it's a little bit busy. So what I'm going to do here is uh, get rid of some of the markups so we can kind of analyze the chart. As you can see, it's pulled back down here. And what I'm going to do here is just take some of my annotations off. There we go. Okay, so we've had this tremendously negative reaction, unfortunately, um, to earnings, which is surprising because we're up. Now, this is one of the reasons I always try to indicate to people it's always good to basic and I let's see if we can move back over there. There we go. So it had this negative reaction to earnings. The question is, what do you do? Well, the first thing that you need to do is you need to, if you're down more than 7%, you need to close your position here. Now, I did at this level. This is where I had my stop loss. So my stop loss, and I think I was at 287.54. It's currently 281. So basically what's going to happen, we have a reversal. So here's the thing with Docusign. If you have Docusign now and you're down more than and you're down more than 7%, I would really recommend selling at this point and waiting for a better condition. It's just one of those things. This is one of the major reasons why I'm such a big fan of selling into earnings, and then after earnings coming back and buying in, because you can get these negative reactions, and that's definitely what we've gotten here. So if you're down more than 7% um, on DocuSign, I really kind of recommend possibly selling and waiting for a better opportunity. It will be back for DocuSign. I have no doubt. DocuSign is an investment grade stock. It's absolutely an investment grade stock. So um, it's the kind of thing that you can hold over a long period over a long period of time. But if you're trading it like I'm trading it right now, you really have to say, okay, Uncle, I'm down 7%. I'm going to wait for a better entry point, and just do that, because it's not worth getting. Uh, the problem is, if you don't cut your losses quickly, they can build up and cause a problem. So I would be very careful here, probably, and I would sell my position if I was in it right now. It's down more than 7%. All right. Let's see. Took a Facebook September 10th, 375, 377.50 call. Debit spread, good for you. For overnight swing trade, looking at 20 to 30% return overnight. Wow. That is excellent, excellent, good. Well, here's the thing about overnight swings. I mean, yes, definitely, that could be a very, very good play. I'll be honest with you. The thing is, this is why typically you see all the action towards the end of the day, because people don't want to hold those overnight positions. Because of course, with options, you can only trade them during normal hours. You can't. There's no overnight market for options. Of course, for some many stocks, there is an overnight market. You can buy them overnight, and that's done, and that's done all the time. But that is an excellent play, Mark. And let's just take a look at that Facebook chart and kind of see kind of what you're talking about here, because that's a really nice play on the spread. All right, so let's take a look here. All right, here we go. Uh, we had that reaction obviously overnight. Let's kind of look at the 30-minute chart and see. Yes, okay, so we had a definite hard bounce here at 375 with a lot of volume, of course. And when it opened, it moved down. So basically, you had an overnight swing trade. Okay, that's okay. What do you think of the overnight swings? Well, I would be a little bit careful on this. I typically like to hold them a little bit more than that, typically 2 to 3 days. But it's a valid way to go, especially. And I think you're thinking the right way here, Mark, because what you're thinking about is you're thinking about a very narrow spread. It's only a 150 spread. So either way it comes out, it's more of a binary thing. You're really not going to lose a lot of money on. So I think that's a great move, and yeah, I think you could be very pleased with that. Um, let's take a look at Neo. Again, I am not a fan of Neo, unfortunately. It has had some issues regarding it has definitely had some issues. And again, we're seeing some weakness once again. Now, in after hours trading, it looks as if it's up just slightly. And of course, I've changed my timing on the market to come on at 3:30 Central. And the reason is because, of course, I want to wait until after hours, because I do like to trade that very end of the day. So it's better to see how it's not really how the stock opens, though we start with the Discord room in the morning with that. It's I don't like to do that in the morning, but the most important thing is how the stock ends up trading. Here's the thing I would say with Neo. It's still in a downward trend. It has not moved above that reversal line. So I think really what you've got to do here is, I just don't think it's a good time to buy it. I don't think it's the right time to buy it. I think we want to wait until it's moved above this reversal line. Currently, that reversal line, and I'm going to give you an exact number, is about 45.78. So here's probably what you want to do. You want to set a 45.78 um, email notification of for potentially a reversal. But right now with right now with Neo is in a confirmed downtrend, so we don't want to be buying it right now. It's just one of those things. It's tough because you look at it and you think, oh well, I want to get back in Neo. I think you got to be a little bit careful with Neo right now. It's in a downward trend. I just don't think it's really the time to be in Neo. Okay, let's go to the next question. Thank you very much. Let's look at PayPal now. I did move into a position in PayPal, and of course, it moved against me today. So there you go. PYEL. But let's look at the general trend. We had this, and this is why sometimes a reversal can be problematic. As you can see, I bought it on the reversal. Now I'm very aggressive. I'm buying these very aggressively. Typically, when you buy a reversal, you want to see 2 or 3 days of solid strength before it moves higher. That's what you want to do. You want to see some solid strength there as it's moving higher. What happened here was it did move up yesterday. I did buy it on the movement up, but then it subsequently moved back. This is very common when you get a reversal because it's really going sideways. It's trying to figure out whether or not it's going to continue upward. My guess is, at least looking at this chart, that we probably will see a close tomorrow above the 40-day line. That's this red line here. The reason I think we're going to get that close above that is because it's going to readjust and move higher, I believe. We did get a sell-off today, but that's just really in response, I believe, to it pushing through this reversal line that we had here. So what do I think about PayPal? Well, PayPal is struggling to reverse its direction, but I do believe, though, it's very likely that it is going to reduce. It is going to move higher based on this chart. So my thoughts on PayPal are: I wouldn't necessarily be a buyer of this tomorrow, but I don't think you can count out PayPal. It's in a very good category, this finance credit card area. I did buy another stock in this group, Visa, and I want to kind of show you what the deal is with this group. This group here is basically, and I kind of want to kind of show it to you. This is number, I think, 43. Let's look at that. Yes. No, I'm sorry. Let's go to the right. Let's go to the right chart here. That would help, wouldn't it? So go here and industry groups. There we go. And go right down here to number 43. There we go. I believe, is that computer software desktop? Let's look at the group ranking, and this is the group that I've been very interested in because it's showing a lot of strength. So even if PayPal pulled back a little bit, I think this is a good place to look potentially for. Let's see, did we get that in there? I'm trying to find it. Okay, well I can't. Let's see if I can locate that. Let's look at PayPal, and it is in the finance group, 43 out of 197. Okay, great. There we go. Now it's working good. The top, of course, holding in terms of EPS is Square. I still have some Square. PayPal, of course, and then as they move on down. But PayPal is still a very, very good stock, as you can see. At least it's set up very well. We have, let's see if we can pull up the chart again. There we go. Okay, with PayPal, what we're looking at here is industry rank of 43. This has moved up significantly. So there's money flowing into the sector of the economy right now. We have a relative strength of 81. It's down a little bit today, but I do think we're going to see a correction on this. I also want to look here at a stock that I've been buying today. It's Visa. And Visa, the same kind of thing, it looks as if it is trying to get above this reversal line too. It's pulled back once again. So hopefully it will move through this reversal line and continue on its way up. It after hours is down a little bit, but overall we're starting to see some strength in this area. We had two nice blue bars here. I suspect that this area will be doing well tomorrow, and we'll see. We'll just see how it works out there. So buying points for PayPal. That's a very good question. I kind of want to give you kind of where I would be looking to buy PayPal. Let's put it up. PYPL is the symbol. And that basically is you want to buy it, and I'm going to pull it up here. You want to buy it basically at the top of that blue bar. So I'm going to put that right on there. You want to probably start trying to get into PayPal if it moves above 292.77. 292.77, that's going to be a good place for it to get into the stock, and as it moves higher. Now, I do think this is a correction, but we will see if we get if we could possibly get some more weakness tomorrow. But I do think that it is likely to, yeah, and as you can see, after hours it's starting to move up just slightly. So this is kind of where I think it is the place to be, and that would be right at about 293. So here's what I would say for an entry point here. I think you could definitely possibly enter. So an entry point for PayPal is equal to about, and I'm gonna put it here. There we go. Is about 293. 293. So there we go. Okay, so this is kind of where I think that you ought to be looking. You ought to be looking here. There we go. Is right at the top. Right at the top here. As it starts to move, as it starts to move higher, because what I do believe is that now, if it confirms it's above this 40-day line, as it starts to move, it's going to move up to this pivot at 310. So I think that there's at least 15 points here that we could work with. But this is kind of where I think you ought to start moving into it, right about here. So I'm going to set an alert at let's see, 273. I think that's going to be no, 283. Let's see what that. Okay, so that's kind of where you want to set your stop loss, and then as it moves higher, that's where you want to be. So that's kind of my take on it. That's kind of my take on it. So we want to see it move higher, 286, 287. So we're very close. We want to see it come up to the top of that blue bar, and then I think you could probably, so 293 probably is going to be your best bet, and that's right here, 293. But you need to set your stop loss pretty tight at about 283. If you do enter here, you want to have a stop loss here. You don't want to, because if this thing reverses and it doesn't hold at this 40-day line, then it's probably going to move lower. So we want to be kind of proactive. So as it moves higher, that's where I think you want to be in it. We probably will get possibly a blue bar tomorrow on this one, and we'll see. We'll just see how it trades. But that's kind of my take on it, on where to get in to a PayPal, because I definitely think PayPal is adjusting. It's getting ready to move higher. So 293 on PayPal is really kind of where I think is the best thing. Now, this is a very strange thing when you're buying stock. You kind of want to buy it as it's moving higher. Not you don't want to buy a bargain. This is the very odd thing with the stock market. When you're going to the supermarket, when you're going to the department store, you want to buy the very best merchandise you can at the lowest price. Well, it's kind of the opposite with the stock market. You want to buy the best merchandise that you can get because remember, you're not buying it to own it. You're buying it to resell it. You're buying it to buying. So you want to buy high as it's moving higher. So that's kind of the way you want to. That's kind of the way you want to do it. So that's kind of the best point. But right now, the best buy point on PayPal that I can see is about 293. So if it moves above 293, and we're very close to that, it's right now at 285.22. So I think that it's a very good time to possibly look at doing that. And this might actually, PayPal might make a very good case for a bull put spread. I am bullish on PayPal. So PYPL and a bull put spread. Okay, so I may put together a bull put spread on PayPal because I do like the stock. I do think it's going to start to move higher, and I think we're going to see some good stuff coming there. All right, thoughts on DLTR? Let's pull over to DLTR. DLTR. All right, let's see. Ah, well, Dollar Tree. You know, I would shop at Dollar Tree, but I don't think I would buy their stock. Dollar Tree has some great bargains. This is kind of indicative of what I was saying um, about stocks. You want to stop at Dollar Tree because they have the great bargains, but you really don't want to own their stock, at least for right now. Now it's true, a lot of people are shopping there, but we don't want to buy a stock typically that's in a downward trend. And right now, unfortunately, Dollar Tree is in a downward trend, and we're below that key 200-day moving average. Why is that so key? Well, the reason it's so key is because if we're above the 200-day moving average, that means that capital is flowing into this issue. Right now, it's like capital is pulling out of this issue. It's sort of like when the tide when the tide moves out. Now, another things that we would be careful on is this has got a 17 relative strength, so that it's not something we want to see. We have a downward trend, and possibly it's going to move. It made an attempt here, as you can see. It came right up to 106, and then it was rejected. This is why it's so important that we don't buy below this line. We just don't know why below this one because this is a key level. Now, many stocks are traded programmatically, so that's why these index lines are so important because if it moves above an index line, then a lot of these programs will buy it. But if it stays below, they'll either sell it or they won't do anything. So we want to make sure that it moves above that line. So here's the thing. Right now with Dollar Tree, I do like the fact that it is a retailer, but unfortunately, the discount and variety retailers have done horribly. Right now the checklist on this is not very good. It's only 44, so it's not the kind of checklist that we want to kind of see. This group is unfortunately underperforming the market. We always want to take and push our capital up to the areas of the market that are performing the best. So with DLTR, Dollar Tree, I think you got to take a pass on it. I really do. I don't think it's. I don't think you want to buy this stock. It just doesn't. It just doesn't perform as well as we would like to see it, and that's just it's just one of the things. Now let's take a look at Airbnb. Airbnb is starting to get enough time in. This is the thing with IPOs. You typically don't want to buy them in the first 3 months. Why? Because they haven't been seasoned. Now, sometimes you get lucky and you have some insights or information, and that's a great thing. But with this one, we've definitely come through that period of time, and it looks as if we're starting to move. We're starting to move higher with Airbnb. Now, I do have. It says here I did buy a full position, but what I did is basically I wrote it up, and then when it pulled back, I sold it. So it was a sort of a false start on this one for me. I want to basically buy stuff on the reversal, and I did buy it on the reversal, and it's still reversing higher. So there may be another opportunity here for Airbnb. Now, currently the sales are up 299%, but of course, because it's a growth stock, we don't have any profit. We're still losing money. but the name is very good. Now, I would be concerned about this one. Probably would not be a buyer with this one until it's had a little bit more time to form a base. So I would have to watch list Airbnb. But with Airbnb, I like Airbnb a little bit better than Dollar Tree. I think it's a little bit better stock, and I think you could watch list this one. I think you could watch list Airbnb. But here's the thing with Airbnb. I want to see it move probably up to its I want to actually see it form a base. So we may have to be waiting for a little bit of time. I kind of want to see it move up to about here before I'm interested in buying it. About 219. Okay? That's sort of where I want to that's kind of where I want to see it. So why do I want to see it at that level? Well, the reason is because this is how all stocks work. They come out of the gate, they move up to a high, and then the weekend starts selling. It moves down, and then gradually the weekends are taken out, and eventually it will move above about that 219 level. So here's what I would do. I would set an alert on this. I would set an alert on this, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a line right there. Okay. I'm going to draw a line, and then I'm going to set an alert on that line. And that line basically is if it moves above that line, that's where I'm interested in buying it. So right now, you just got to watch list this one. And unfortunately, it's not going to. I don't think you should be in it. It just doesn't. It doesn't feel right, and I think you're going to be a little disappointed. So that's kind of the thing. Now I'm going to take another question, but not from other one. Let's look at AMD. Now, I did close my spread on AMD. I made a little bit of money, not much money. I think this one was a very small. This is AMD is a tough stock to trade. I'll be frank with you. What happened was that I had a spread on it, and I did close it. It was for a very very small profit. I think I have the numbers I can show you on this, but very very small profit as it's moved lower. The problem with and I've always had this problem trading AMD. AMD tends to be a very spiky stock. It will move up very quickly and then it will pull back. And right now it's pulling back. So it seems as if, at least for right now, even though this is in the top area, this is in the fabless semiconductor area. This area is done very very well. It seems as if, at least with AMD, it's sort of readjusting. So the buy point on AMD is about 95.44. So basically we've got to wait. It's probably going to pull back. So unfortunately, this is not a good place to buy AMD. It's definitely worth watching this because this is a hot stock. When it moves the right way, this will be a very very good stock. But right now we can't buy it. Why? Because it is too far extended above that 95.44 buy point. So that's kind of why we can't do anything with it, unfortunately, because I do like the stock and I think it's a very, very well run company. But, it's funny with stocks, you can buy the best stock, but if you buy it extended or you buy it at the wrong time, that can be deadly because it can pull back. So what what I really believe that you should look at doing is buying the best setups and then letting the market take it higher rather than chasing a stock. This is a really really hard lesson to learn because, and believe me, I have made this mistake so many times you can't believe it. I still have the urge to chase stocks today, but that's one of the things you got to be super careful on. Don't chase stocks. So right now it's over. It's over with, but it will come back. It will come back. Now let's take a look at the people on TikTok. Thank you very very much for um, for going on TikTok. Okay, let's look at Apple, and I think Apple is really indicative. Now everybody knows that I have a position in Apple. It's not a huge position, but this has been over the years. This has been one of my best stocks, of course, like a lot of other people too. I mean, I'm hardly unique in that. Let's look. Let's see if we can get it. AAPL. That's the symbol, of course. There we go. There's Apple. But here's the thing about Apple. There's really nothing wrong with Apple. It's performing basically very, very in a very, very predictable way. Here's the thing. Here's what's going on with Apple. As you can see on this chart, I think I'm going to zoom in a little bit. so I can show you this. And by the way, if you're looking on TikTok, I this uh, this is this is all based on that I'm showing all these charts on YouTube. So you can go to youtube.com/Dallas Trading Floor and see all these charts that I'm showing. So you can kind of get an idea. Let me just kind of zoom in on this is on Apple. I'm going to zoom in just one more. I'm going to go to pretty high magnification so you can kind of see what I'm talking about here. So there we go. All right. So what's happened with Apple is that we had this buy point at 137.07. We moved above the the buying range on up 5%, and then we've moved up again a little bit further. So currently, as we speak, and this is key, we are currently we are currently about 1.5% above the 10-day line. Okay, this is acceptable place to possibly. I wouldn't. This is not a primary place to buy anything, but there's no reason to sell here. This is normal action. If you bought at 137.07, then you should be in very, very good shape. As you can see, I made early buys here as it was moving above that pivot, and then I've basically just held on and just held on, and it is going to move higher. But right now, this is not the time, and I put that I have the wrong comment on there. Sorry about that. Okay, this is right now not the time to be buying Apple, unfortunately, because it's extended. And the question is, what do I mean? What do I mean by extended? Let's put that. Okay. Yeah. What do I mean by extended? Well, here's the thing I mean. Here's the thing I mean by extended. If it moves above 5% above the buy point, which is 137.07, then it's extended. So right now, unfortunately, is not a time when we can buy Apple. It just is not a time for it. There are other opportunities, but right now, Apple is not an opportunity. So I've said all these things, what not to buy. Let's kind of look in to see if there's anything we can buy, because and by the way, this is going to be on a strong watch list. And I will be putting out a watch list to everybody that's on the free action trade alerts, and that's easy to do. All you have to do, of course, is go to www.Dallas Trading Floor, and just need your first and last name and an email address, and we'll get you set up for this. Basically, what I'm going to do tonight probably is put out the entire watch list that I have. And there's a lot of stocks in here. Not all of them are in buy points, but this is kind of something that you want to this is sort of a universe of stocks that you might want to take a look at. It's going to come out probably tonight, and it will be in this form, and you'll be able to kind of go through it at your leisure. But I kind of want to put it out there for you. All right, so let's go back to the questions. Thank you very much for that. Let's look at Boot Barn. And this one has been really good. This is in the retail space, and this is this is a good area. I do have a reversal line on this one. This is not reversed, so we can't really buy this one. It's still pulling back. It's still sort of it's still sort of moving lower, and yeah, it's really not the time. It's not the time for this one. I have this reversal line on this. When it reverses above that line, then I'm going to be interested in buying it. So the buy point that I have on the buy point that I have is about $90. So I want to see this thing reverse and move above $90. If it moves above $90, then I can possibly get into. That should be a low, what they call a low cheat, below this 93.25. This 93.25 essentially is the higher high. So that's where you want it to go. So with Boot Barn, I think if you're in it, great. Just stay in it as long as you're not down 7%. That's a good thing. It's not a good time to enter it though. We want to wait a little bit to enter it, probably at about 90. That's sort of where we want to enter it. All right. Question from Jay on Palantir. Let's look at Palantir. PLTR is there we go. Super. Um, all right. With Palantir, basically what's happened is we are still, and I've been trimming my position in Palantir. I definitely would like to allocate more funds to Palantir because I do think long term this is a revolutionary stock, but unfortunately it has fallen below a key level of support. That's the 10-day line. So let me zoom in on that a little bit. Let's see if we can put that up there for everybody. Let's see if we can move it over there, and you can kind of see this. The buy point is right there. Basically, it's a stage one pivot with cup with handle. So the buy point is 25.94. Now currently it's 25.46. So it's right below that pivot. But the key thing is, as you can see, this little pink line here. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, the little pink line. You can see it's fallen below that pink line. Now, theoretically, it should bounce at that line. This black line here is the 200-day moving average. So I know that I'm only giving you a lot of spaghetti here, but what's happening? Well, a stock that is ascending properly should be bouncing basically either up the 21-day line, that's the green line, or the 10-day line, and that's the pink line. So it's fallen below the pink line. So what I did with Palantir today is I reduced my position because it probably will go higher in the near future, but I just wanted to kind of reduce my position, and then if it goes higher, then I'll be buying it, but I won't buy it. But remember, I want to buy stocks as they're high going higher. So here's my advice with Palantir. If you're in the stock, I don't see any reason to get out of the stock unless you're down 7%. But I would not add to the position here. And the reason I wouldn't add to the position is because it's still in a downward trend. I want to see it reverse off of the 10-day line. I want to see it move up to the buy point. And then once it moves above that buy point, that's where you want to add. And you can see on this chart, there's a little blue area. Let's see if we can put that up. Yeah, there we go. There's a little blue area, and that's sort of where you want to add. So it's below that. So as it reverses above that into the blue area, that's where you're going to want to that's where you're going to want to start adding to your position. All right. Thank you for that, Jay. Appreciate it very much. Let's take another question. Thank you. DE, yes. DE had a perfect gap down and bounce. Perfect teaching example. Boy, are you right about deer. So let's look at deer and see, and there's a number of good things. And of course, I have to eat my own dog food too because I have a tendency to chase stocks. I'll be perfectly honest with you. I don't like to admit it, but I do have a tendency to chase stocks. So let's kind of look at what's happened here. And this is sort of how a stock typically will move. It'll move up to a pivot, and then either it will be forced through it, or then it will pull back and try again. So let's kind of zoom in on that a little bit, and hopefully that will work for us. Oops, I did it for the wrong. I did it for the wrong one. There we go. All right. So there we go. Zooming in on no, that's Palantir. Let's zoom in on deer, DE. There we go. Okay. So this is a perfect example of what I did. Now I entered, as you can see, I entered on the first. I entered this bull put spread, and so I'm still in this bull put spread. Now, am I going to close this bull put spread? Well, probably not. And the reason I probably am not going to close this is because this has done what always happens. It goes up to the pivot, and then it pulls back, and then it bounces. And so I do expect that there's going to be a bounce tomorrow on deer. I do think it's going to move above this the 21-day line, and as it moves above there, then this will start to come back into the money. There has been a fair amount of selling here, So this is the largest volume since the last since the last base, and this was basically back here. So this is a good example of typically how stocks will move. They will move up to the pivot, and then typically we will want to buy them as they're pushing through the pivot. Or what I've been doing recently is I've been buying them lower than the pivot, and then as they move through the pivot, then moving higher above that pivot. So, um, am I going to close my spread on John Deere? No, I'm going to keep it for a while. Now, that's one of the advantages of using spreads rather than physical stocks, is that you can. There are disadvantages and there's advantages, but one of the advantages, of course, is the leverage. And hopefully, if I'm right, if this reverses higher, then it will work out. If not, well, I'll have to close the position early or move it out further. So that's kind of the choice. ASO. This is Academy Sports and Outdoors ASO, and this is a pretty good stock too. This one again has come down. It looks like it's testing, and this is so interesting when you see this. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. Let's do that. All right, here we go. This is so interesting when you see this, because what's happened here is that it moved up through that pivot, that 42.75 pivot. It then moved up above that. It moved above the buy zone, and then it got right to the top of the buy zone, and then boom, there was selling action. It came right down to the 10-day line. But if you'll notice, this 10-day line is pointing upwards. So it's very, very likely we're going to see a bounce here. And as a matter of fact, we have. In the after hours action on this, it's up 70 cents. So it's very, very likely that we're going to see a test here, and then we'll probably see several up here. So this is not really a good time to sell it. This is a good time possibly to hold it. Now, here's one rule though that we want to be very, very we want to be very careful on, and I may be selling this one tomorrow. I may be well, I don't own this one. This might be a good one to sell tomorrow. Why? Because the earnings are due in one day. So basically, what's going to happen at the end of Thursday? This is going to report. So it's likely, if you don't have 10% in this stock, if it's not up 10%, you might want to consider selling at this point, because it could possibly reverse lower. My guess is that probably that won't happen, but I think in order to be safe, what you want to do here is sell it, wait for it to come through the earnings and see how it does, and then possibly buy it on the other side. But this is not a good time to enter the position. You typically want to have 10%. You want to be up 10% in stock before it comes in earnings. Right now, it's going to be at earnings in basically a day. So not a good time to enter the stock, but possibly on Friday it will be, because on Friday, of course, that will be the day after it closes, and I mean after earnings. So that indeed can be also a very, very good thing. So here's the long and the short of it. It came up, it moved through that pivot, and then it pulled back and bounced right at the 10-day line. Not a good time to buy it, possibly, but if you're up 10%, I would hold it through earnings, which is going to be on Thursday. If not, I think you could consider selling it, waiting to see what happens, and then buying it on the other side. So that's my kind of advice. So not a good day to buy Academies. For great company. Not a good day to buy it though, because it's coming into earnings. Let's take the next. Let's take the next one. CLR. All right. And that is Continental Resources. And of course, this is a great company. This is Howard Ham's company. I don't know if you've probably heard of Howard Ham, but all of the major oil discoveries that were made in in North Dakota was really started with this company. Very interesting. This was one of the first companies in the world to use fracking technology, and I still think this is one of the really, really good companies in this space. Now, let's look at the chart, because it's very instructive of basically a trading range. And as you can see, it has been in this little trading range basically since July, and it sort of is it's bouncing up and down in this zone here. So what happens? It came all the way up to 41. It's now pulling back, and probably this is going to adjust lower until it gets down to about 31, and then it possibly will make a run higher. But right now, we might see some support at the 40-day line. That's very, very possible. But I think with this one, if you this is a good place if you have profits in this one, possibly to thin it a little bit. This is a good time to take profits. The oil and gas E&P is falling relative to the rest of the market. So here's the thing with Continental Resources. I probably would not be a buyer at this point just because of the way this is looking. But if I was up on this position, I would consider selling at least half of it because I do think that we want to start to sell into strength. I think we probably will have some strength, but I think you need to start taking profits in this one, basically. Okay, have another question from Samuel. Thank you very much. And this is for Palantir, PLTR, and I have been selling Palantir. I'll be honest with you. I wish I had timed this right. It's tough to time the market, but you can do it. It's just that I'm in a 3.5% loss. Should I hold or sell? Here's what I would do with Palantir. You don't want to take any more than a 7% loss. That's your maximum loss. I do think it's very likely you're going to see a bounce tomorrow. So here's what I would do. I think you need to set a stop limit. And what I would recommend setting the stop limit at, what I would be recommending putting that stop limit in at about 7 or 8% down. So let me see if I can pull up a calculator here to see kind of if we can do that. So let's kind of put that in there, and let's see if I can get this sort of everything up all at once. That would be great if I can do it. Let's see if I can. Okay, so there we go. That would come up. All right. And I'm going to kind of reduce the size there so we can see that calculator because that's a good thing. All right. PLTR. Right, bringing that up. And now, last but not least, doing all these things. Okay, so let's share the screen with the calculator. This is exactly how I do the calculation on stop losses. So it's not that hard to do. So here's the chart and the calculator at the same time. So we're gonna look at Palantir, and I'm gonna move it out a little bit here. Okay, so you got in at 26.35. So let's put that in there, 26.35. Okay, so basically the maximum the absolute maximum loss that you ever want to take on this would be a 7% loss. So if we put that in there, we know we have to sell the stock if it goes down to 24.51. Currently, it's at 25.43. So we still have a little bit of room here. Okay, so what should we do? Well, here's what I would do. I would place a stop loss at 24.51, and I would sell half of my position. So what I would do is I would sell half of my position and then set a stop loss at 24.51. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reactivate that alert. There we go. And where we want to put that stop loss, 24.51. I want to kind of put it right there. All right. And then let's get rid of this one. Oops. Right. And then we can put I'm trying to see if it'll let me. There we go. Delete that one. And so here's what I would say. I would definitely let me get a little more chance to. All right. Delete. Okay. So basically what I would do here is I would set my stop loss at 24.51, and I would sell half of my position. So that's kind of my advice on that. That's kind of that's kind of my advice on this one. So what I would do is sell one half of position and set stop loss for the rest at 24.51. Okay, so that's kind of my take. That's kind of my take on it generally, is that we don't want it. We still probably want to be in the stock, but we just need to trim our position. We need to trim our position. So that's kind of where I think that you would do the best. So thank you very much for that question. That's a very, very good question. Whenever you get in a situation where you want to reduce your position, you want to reduce your exposure, the way I usually do it is I first sell half the position. Now, I may take a little bit of a loss on it, but then what I do is I move that stop loss up. So if I do get a reversal, then I'm in the stock. And then if it reverses and I'm confident that it's going to continue reversing, then I will buy back into the stock. So this is a way to take a look to de-risk your position a little bit, but also potentially participate in the upside. All right, question on Square. Got stopped outside. Yeah, I know. This is so frustrating when you use stops like I've been for years now. Before I used stops, I used to hang on to stocks forever and a day, and I thought, it'll come back, it'll come back, and sometimes it does come back, sometimes it does come back, but unfortunately, many times it doesn't. So I'm glad it's up a little bit after hours. If it moves above, if it shows that it's going to reverse higher, then you can buy it. But you just have to wait now. You just have to wait until it gets to the next pivot. And the pivot is 283.19. That's right this line here. So it's very frustrating. I I can really understand. I can really understand why you're like, gosh, because this is not fair. But it's not, this is how it works. This is a toppy market. September is traditionally a very hard month to trade in. Um, Now, getting to this is an interesting area of the market. This is the area of um, the shipping stocks. Now, I've done very well with Matson lines. Interestingly enough, though, I got stomped out of Starbulk carriers, but the real leader has been Zim. Now, Zim is a really fascinating story. It's an IPO, but it's actually a very old company. This company's been around since 1945. It's the Israeli National shipping line, and they did go public, and it's just done nothing but go up. Interestingly enough, in the world that we're living in right now, it's really interesting. But I've done studies of this. One of the things that's going to we're going to see inflation quickest, the fastest, is in these shipping rates, and especially shipping rates from China. I'll be honest with you. This is where we're going to see real inflation. So many of these companies that are doing containers, this is a good area of the market. It's currently 19 out of 197. There's 197 different sectors of the stock market, and this is number 19, and it's just been strong all year. So this is a great stock. Now, can we buy it? Well, no, we can't buy it this way. Now, I bought a half position at 47.70. You can see there I've noted it on the chart, but I bought it right below the pivot, and then it moved through the pivot. Unfortunately, I can't buy this stock right now. Why? Because it's extended, and this is painful because I always like to, I like to add to the stocks as they're moving higher. So the correct way to buy this basically is to buy it as it's moving through the pivot, and then if it confirms and it holds in there, when it moves right above the buy zone, this is the buy zone, then you add there, and then that's it. And you really beyond that, if a stock is really extended more than about 5 to 7% above its pivot, it's probably not the place to add. I mean, so it's very painful. You look at these guys. Well, the parade's going the parade's going on without me. Um, Sometimes that's the way. But right now with Zim, it's not a good time to enter it unless you already have a position. If you already have a position and you can get an average price of about 47.84 or thereabouts, or 5 cents, 5% above it, then you could potentially add. But if you're entering a new position on this one, I have to say no, you can't. Thank you, Kate, very much. Thanks for watching, by the way. Let's look at DraftKings, and thank you for doing that. DKNG, DraftKings, and let's look at DraftKings. Okay, well, here's the deal with DraftKings. I really like DraftKings, and by the way, it has reversed, and it looks like it's going to move higher. So, I need to be I need to be eating my own dog food here, because I think we're going to see DraftKings move higher because it's pulled past this reversal line. I had this reversal line on it. It's moved past that, so that's a very good thing. And then it's moved beyond this the 50-day moving average, and it seems to be moving higher. I have to, it's really too early to buy this one. Really, we shouldn't be buying it this early, but the trend has changed on DraftKings from about where the trend changed was about in the middle of July. It then finally moved to an upward trend. It was below the 200-day line, but now the momentum seems to be coming back into the issue. So this is not a bad place to buy to start. Now, would I buy 100%? Would I buy a 100% position here? Absolutely not, because because we're still below that pivot. But this is a good place to start nibbling. And so what I would consider possibly with with DraftKings, and I do like this stock a lot. I think it's got a lot of legs on it. Is I would start to start accumulating a position. And basically the position I would be maybe a quarter position first. This is a good time to start accumulating a position with DraftKings, because I do believe this is a good one. But now if let's say we were to buy in here, that's about 63.50, right? Okay. Well, if we were to go in there, we would immediately set a stop loss at 7% down from where we bought that. So we should set an immediate stop loss at 59 approximately for this if we were to buy it now. I do think that we can buy this stock. It's showing a lot of strength because you're seeing it move right up this 10-day line. So I do think that we can start accumulating a position here, and I think that that is going to be a very good thing, because I do think it's going to get stronger. Now, this is typically a tough month to buy in, but I do believe this one is a winner. So I would start looking to accumulate position. I really appreciate you putting that out there. So I'm gonna put down uh, DKNG. I like trading DraftKings, and I probably too will be looking at putting a position, because I think it's going to be very, very good. Now the question is DraftKings versus Penn National Gaming. Well, interestingly enough, there's a number of stocks that typically do very, very well during the month of September, and the gambling stocks are one of them. Now, would I recommend DraftKings or would I recommend Penn National Gaming? Because that's the question. Based on this chart, based on the two charts that I'm seeing, the better of the two is DraftKings. I also want to look at Caesars, because Caesars is a huge operation. CZR. So it's interesting. Right before the show, I was talking with a gentleman that is intimately familiar with Caesars, and he's in the hotel business, and I think that this is the best. One of the things is I the reopening trade hasn't totally happened yet, but many of these stocks that are in the gambling space, a lot of people have been cooped up a long time, and they're going to go out to Las Vegas or wherever, and they're going to enjoy themselves, and this will do very, very well. So this is probably, if you're looking in the gambling space right now, out of the gambling space, I believe this is the best buy right now. Caesars, symbol CZR. It's up and it's also right at a buy point. Isn't that interesting? Right at a cup with handle buy point. Now, it's true. It says this is a stage 3 buy point, but this is not a bad place to buy Caesars. It's down a little bit today, but this is one that I think you could start getting into. It's it I is Caesars Entertainment CZR. So between DraftKings, Penn National, and Caesars, I would pick Caesars. But secondly, I would pick DraftKings. Unfortunately, even though I like Penn National, I think basically these two others are the leaders. But I want to kind of look to see kind of what is the thing to look at. And right now in the leisure equipment area, which where Caesars is, it's about 6.7% off its all-time highs. Now, it's essentially similar to MGM, but I like Caesars better than MGM, though they have a very, very similar profile as well. So, really, in the gambling space, it sort of is a toss-up. I mean, you could definitely go with Penn National, and you probably wouldn't be hurt. But I don't think it's the best one. I think DraftKings is better, and if you're looking for the companies with the physical resorts, I think you want to look at Caesars and MGM. MGM also has been a very, very good performer, and I do think as we see the Las Vegas open back up, I think we're going to see them do very well. But I really appreciate that question. I think it's a very, very good question. So to reiterate, and I've gone all over the place, I think you want to look at possibly starting out to position of DraftKings right now. Okay, time for just a few more questions. I really I really enjoy this, and I don't. Unfortunately, I can't get to everybody's questions. I wish I could. It's just limited a little bit on time. Let's look at Macy's. Macy's is pulling back a little bit, and I still own Macy's. I definitely do like it, but it made an attempt. It moved past that pivot at 22.39, and now it's starting to pull back. I definitely think we're going to get some support at the 21-day line. So I wouldn't necessarily sell it right now, but as you can see, since it made its breakout, and this is key, since it's made its breakout, the relative strength line has moved downward, sort of almost in tandem with the price. All right. And the volume has moved down here. So what does this all mean? Well, what this means is essentially we have we still have weak hands that are selling, but we're starting to strengthen us. So I don't think that it is time necessarily to totally get out of Macy's. Now, of course, if it falls below the 40-day line where I have my stop loss, then you want to possibly, and the stop loss here is at $19.10. So you don't want to let it fall any beyond that line. But I do think we're going to see a bounce very soon on Macy's. So I wouldn't necessarily be selling it right now. The retail department stores are doing very well. In terms of the market, believe it or not, they're 3 out of 197. So that's incredible when you think about it. When you think about it. Okay, well, it's over an hour, and thank you everybody. What I want to do is I kind of want to put out to everybody the watch list, but you got to be on the action trade alerts to get that. So the way you do that, super easy, is you just go over here to www Dallas Trading Floor, and the first and the last name and the email address, and you'll see that. So till tomorrow at I've changed the time on this. I'm going after the markets have closed at about 3:30, just because it's really important to kind of and I probably should have been doing this from the get-go, but it's important to do a wrap up because it's where the stocks close that counts, not where they open and not where they trade. It's where they close. So till tomorrow at 3:30 Central Time. Happy trading, and thank you everybody for taking a look, and hopefully talk to your friends. Please, I always need, always, I always need more. Um, I'm actively looking for people to to watch the show. So if you like what you see, please, 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 like and subscribe to the show. So thank you very, very much, and I will see you back here tomorrow. Thanks again. Happy trading.